The Moskin, a race of Daedra originally created by Prince Sheogorath. Although they originated in the Shivering Isles, there are many clans of Moskin, serving many Daedric lords. This one served Lord Mehrunes Dagon. The Daedric Seducer begins the game scantily clad in ebony armor. She wields a Daedric crescent as her primary weapon, and in her offhand, she has a specialized life drain ability. She has a special sight ability that allows her to see potential victims through the walls. She also possesses the ability to jump much higher than the average person. If she happens to be running forward when she jumps, she can glide. The reason for these abilities are her wings, that are not visible in her human illusion. However, at any time she may choose to reveal her true form, and thus gain enhanced regeneration. Note that anyone seeing her in her true form will attack her on sight. If you hit jump and then hit sprint and then jump again at the apex of your jump, you will be able to start flying. Hitting sprint again will cause yourself to ascend and go higher. Hitting the crouch key or stealth key will cause you to descend or go lower. This will allow you to reach places you couldn't normally reach. She is adept in the art of seduction, meaning that she can hug a man, and after hugging him, his disposition will be maximized. After being hugged, many male characters will be able to be recruited as followers, who normally couldn't be recruited. She will use this ability to gather a harem of male characters to fight and die for her. Her greatest ability, however, is to chain abilities such as calm or fear to get into a person's head. After doing so, she can cause them to lose hope, and they will commit suicide. This can only be used on lower level opponents, and this means that due to the way Skyrim scales, there will be points in which you'll encounter enemies that you cannot use this on. However, as you grow in strength, the number of people you can use this on will increase dramatically. However, around level 40, you will pretty much be able to use this on any non-boss enemy. The Daedric Seducer is first and foremost not human, and as such she feels nothing for the plight of your average mortal, be it man or mer. She feels no guilt for taking advantage of a mortal, nor guilt for murdering them. If anything, she lumps man and mer together with monsters, people who are in her way. She can, however, control people more reliably than monsters, therefore prefers their company. When dealing with mortal men, she's a tease. What this means is that she will use her sex appeal in order to enthrall men. Once enthralled, these men do not realize the lengths to which they will go to protect her. There is no actual sex involved in the Daedric Seducer's life, but rather the promise of sex that leads men to their doom for her benefit. She feels most comfortable surrounded by a harem of 5 enthralled men, preferably skilled fighters who will fight to protect her. Like old Daedra, should she die, she would simply return to Oblivion. This is something she greatly wants to avoid, having spent quite a bit of time in the mortal plane. She fundamentally rejects the Aedra, or divines, and would not pray to them under any circumstances. With all the members of Clan Dagon gone, Mehrunes Dagon himself absent from the realm, she has no clan to rely on, and as such she will take help from any Daedric lord she can. She is first and foremost a relic hunter, and will seek out all the Daedric relics she can get her hands on to bolster her powers. However, unlike conventional relic hunters, rather than risking her own life, she risks the lives of those she enthralls, and sees all mortal men as disposable. As such, for the most part, she avoids dragon fights unless they have something to do with, say, a College of Winterhold quest or some other task that the dragon is acting as a gatekeeper for. She will do everything from join the Thieves Guild in an attempt to get the Skeleton Key, to joining the Dark Brotherhood and attempting to usurp their power as well. The world is hers to play in, however, defeating Ulduin, defeating Merak, these are things that are not open to her, as the Dragonborn is somebody else. During the time when Yeager Tharn took rule of Tamriel away from Uriel Septim VII, it was Yeager Tharn's betrayal that opened the way, allowing Mehrunes Dagon to invade the Battlespire. During this time, countless Daedric realms were connected through the Battlespire, and although Dagon did not have access to Tamriel, he had access to other planes of Oblivion which he raided. Dagon's goal was to collect as many relics as he could, and then use those relics to open the final portal and invade Tamriel. This was the result of Yeager Tharn's betrayal. The realm most affected, however, was the Evergloam, specifically a sub-realm known as Shade Perilous. Shade Perilous was home to the Mozkin, descendants of those who were originally born on the Shivering Isles, children of Lord Sheogorath. One of many clans that didn't agree with the rest of their race. These Mozkin were living under the control of a greater Nocturnal. However, Lord Dagon offered these Mozkin even greater power than they would have under the greater Nocturnal. And so the Nocturnal leading Shade Perilous was killed, and the Dark Seducers would overrun the Battlespire. The Dark Seducer's goal was singular in purpose, to gather relics for Mehrunes Dagon, so that he may make his glorious entrance into Tamriel. This, however, was not to be, as the hero of the Battlespire gained Savior's Hide and channeled power to defeat Mehrunes Dagon. The result of the Battlespire's destruction had many of the Daedra who were not in a sub-realm of Oblivion at the time simply fall into Tamriel. That is how Dark Seducers and various Daedric lords ended up in Tamriel during the Third Era. The Daedric Seducer was one of these many Daedra. Although intellectually she knew that Clan Dagon was gone, the sigil he branded her with still remains in her flesh, and she feels compelled to carry out his last command, which was to search for relics. There is no other point or purpose but to survive, as traitors to both Sheogorath and Nocturnal, and as a failure to Dagon, she never wants to go back to Oblivion again. The first mod for the Daedric Seducer is, yes, you guessed it, the Succubus Race mod. This is the race we're going to be using to play as the Daedric Seducer. You're going to want to disable her horns by default since Daedric Seducers never had horns, however the wings should be set to Tundra. Next up we have real flying with gliding and collisions. This will be used in conjunction to allow you to fly. Note that you'll want to delete the dragonwings.inf file from inside the real flying mods meshes directory of the real flying mod. This will stop the real flying wings from conflicting with your succubus wings. Next up we have the Immersive Weapons mod. This is going to get you the Daedric Crescent that you're going to be fighting with. CBBE is the body mod we're going to use, and there are better body mods out there, there is no question about that. However, CBBE is compatible with all the other mods we're going to be using. We're going to be using the HDT physics extensions, combined with the HDT butt and breast physics mod. And in order to make that all work properly, we're going to get the remodeled armor for CBBE Body Slide HDT mod. Note that many of these mods do contain nudity. We're going to grab 4's new idols in Skyrim. Note that after you're done installing all the different mods, you're going to have to go into the data files and run the 4 new idols in Skyrim program. If you have Mod Organizer, do check out my Mod Organizer tutorial on information how to run this through Mod Organizer to set everything up properly. Next up, we're using Finnis Sexy Move. And the idea behind Finnis Sexy Move is that we're going to set her run setting to about 6 or 7 so that she runs very feminine-like, as opposed to 8, 9, or 10, which is just absurd. A lot of these mods require the XP32 maximum skeleton, so we're going to get the extended version. Now, in order to start our character as non-Dragonborn, we're going to get Skyrim Unbound. By setting our character to non-Dragonborn but keeping word walls on, it will allow us to learn shouts, but we won't absorb dragon souls. Next up, we got Percus Maximus. This perk overhaul will allow us to do certain speechcraft options, such as the Hug ability. Finally, we'll be grabbing the Add Item menu Ultimate Mod Explorer so that we can get our armor and weapon right off the bat. I shouldn't have to preface this, but I do, with this mod is for adults only and contains explicit content. Now, for those of you who really want a succubus character for perverted reasons as opposed to the lore and gameplay mechanics, you can go ahead and pick up this PSQ Succubus quest for Sex Lab. It requires a Sex Lab framework. There will not be a tutorial on that. You'll have to look up loverslab.com for details on that, but for you perverts out there, this will give you the full succubus experience. And kind of like Realistic Needs and Diseases or I Need, where you need to eat and drink regularly, this mod will require you to have sex regularly. But assuming you installed Sex Lab correctly and you installed this mod correctly, you should have access to a new range of abilities, all of which will be fueled by an energy bar. An energy bar that will go down over time and will go down quicker when you use your succubus abilities. However, having sex will refill that bar. Note that this is not lore friendly and this is not what the Daedric Seducer is about. However, it is heavily requested that people are able to play as a succubus, and this is the mod that will allow you to do it. If you have issues with this mod or you're having trouble setting it up, go ahead and contact the people over at loverslab.com, because there will be no support provided in this video. After loading in with Skyrim Unbound, you will be greeted to the ruins of Helgen. Wait until the quests have done loading, and it tells you to open the mod configuration menu. When this occurs, go ahead and hit escape, go over to your mod configuration menu. Note that other mods, such as SkyUI, may be required to get this build up and running. Under the Skyrim Unbound mod configuration menu, go ahead and set dragons from time delay, scroll all the way down, and use walls only leveled. What this means is once you've reached a certain level, then dragons will start spawning at word walls only. They will not spawn all over the world, they will not attack you randomly. They'll just be guarding their places, and that's pretty much it. Now for dragon souls, go ahead and select non-dragonborn, meaning you will not be able to absorb dragon souls. Then check this box, which will give you non-dragonborn shouts. Thus, whenever you walk up to a word wall, you'll be able to understand the dragon speech and learn the shout, but you won't be able to enhance that shout with further dragon souls. You'll just have a base offering based on the shouts that you find. For magic, select schools, and for your primary school, you should be using illusion. For your secondary school, you should be using conjuration. For your starting gear, your outfit should be rags. Your headgear, weapons, and wealth should be nothing. Finally, your standing stone ability should be that of the lover. Once you've confirmed your choices are correct, go ahead and click Begin Your Adventure. Set your gender as female, then select Succubus from the race list. Setting a starting location in Skyrim Unbound is optional. If you want to choose the best possible start for your character, just go to Riverwood, because Riverwood will have people that you'll be able to convert and use as your starting force. Go to your powers and select Add Item menu. Under the Remodeled Items Vanilla Replacer, go ahead and grab the Ebony Mail and the Ebony Mail Thigh Boots. Then, under Immersive Weapons, grab the Daedric Crescent and the Daedric Great Crescent, a one-handed and a two-handed sword. Most of the time you should be using your one-handed sword, but if you feel the need to level up your two-handed weaponry, the Great Crescent is what you'll be using. Next, hit the tilde key to open up the command console. This may be a different button depending on what your keyboard layout is. International keyboards may have to press something else. International laptop users may be screwed. Next, type help, and in quotes, focus, the mind. You will find a perk called the Mind Dweller. Note that the perk number will be different based on your load order, so you'll have to type in your own numbers. But here's an example of my typing in the numbers that were given to me. Player, period, add perk, and then the code. It will give you the Lose Hope ability, which when a target is under the effects of either calm, fear, or fury, will force the target to commit suicide. If Skyrim Unbound did its job properly, you should be starting with at least one spell in the illusion school that is mind affecting. thus allowing you to combo this straight from the beginning of the game. If not, you'll have to make do with minions until you're rich enough to buy the spells for yourself. Next up, type Help Affection. You're going to see 2 perks. Go ahead and grab the top of the 2 perks by typing Player, Add Perk, and the code it gave you. Note that the code it gave you is probably different from the code that I'm using. The last thing you're going to have to do is type Help Mutagen. You'll find 2 alchemy items, one to add dragon wings and the other to remove dragon wings. Type in player, period, add item, and then the item code for the dragon wings, followed by 1, indicating that you are getting 1 of that item. You'll find it under potions, go ahead and drink it, and your character will now be enabled for flight. The first thing you should do on your character is find a male, such as the blacksmith Alivor, hug him, and once hugged, you will be able to recruit him as a follower. If you're using a follower overhaul such as Extensible Follower Framework or Amazing Follower Tweaks, you will be able to set him as essential and therefore not killable. However, if you fail to do so, you should at least equip him with some decent gear, lest he be killed very easily. With Extensible Follower Framework or Amazing Follower Tweaks, he can be scaled to your level, but he will not do this on his own and will remain weak forever. Others such as Hod at the Lumber Mill, both Feindal and Sven can be recruited. You can hug a guard, but for the most part, guards cannot be acquired as followers. A while ago, a girl I know asked me if I could make her character into a build video. Her words were, "I play a succubus, don't judge me." I said no, because succubuses aren't canon to the Elder Scrolls. A few months pass, and I'm messing around with a few loadouts, and the idea to play a Daedra came to me. But looking at most of the Daedra, they're fairly uninteresting. I mean, you can get away with playing a Dremora just by wearing a set of Daedric armor and impaling yourself on those very unrealistic spikes. Want to have a fun rabbit hole? Check out the TV Tropes page for Spikes of Villainy. Daedric armor is actually less realistic than boob plate. I've said this on countless live streams, and I'll probably make an independent video about it, but basically, any plate armor with boobs on it is basically going to drive the sword directly into your heart. The whole point of plate armor is to avoid getting stabbed at all. It deflects the blade off of the surface of your body. So in this sense, the Daedric Seducer's armor is equally unrealistic. And actually, a traditional Daedric Seducer just wore cloth and then got naked when she transformed. But I was looking for something a little more kid-friendly. Bouncing boobs or kid-friendly? Yeah, I don't know. I guess what I was going for was erotic, but not explicit. Either way, the Daedric Seducer in its original form, as it was presented in both Daggerfall and Battlespire, is the closest thing the Elder Scrolls has to a succubus. In Daggerfall, Daedra were actually portrayed more as demons in the sense that they could possess people. You would do an exorcism on behalf of the Chantry of Akatosh, and the Daedra would come out and you would kill it to send its soul back to Oblivion. Now come Battlespire, the Daedric Seducers no longer showed off their breasts, which isn't a big deal. Their behavior stayed mostly the same. And in fact, they got some backstory as to their dealings with Nocturnal and Shade Perilous. You also got to meet the race of Nocturnals, which was cool. And then Shivering Isles reintroduced them as the children of Lord Sheogorath. And the way the meta lore came out to be is that there were males from the Daedric Seducer race, but they were treated as inferior people. And anyone who disagreed with the rulings, the way the Daedric Seducers did their business, they left and formed their own clans. And the idea is, by the Third Era, there were tons of Moskin clans serving different Daedric lords. And Clan Dagon was the one that did all of the stuff in Battlespire. And we assume since Battlespire takes place between Elder Scrolls 1 and 2, that's where all the Daedra came from in Daggerfall, is they came from the Battlespire. And that's pretty much the whole story. I mean, there isn't much to this character other than you're going to be gathering relics, and you're going to be doing quests, and you're going to be turning men into your slaves. I realize my other characters had large and overt goals they sought out, but not this one. Not this one. Anyway, none of the guilds are really off the table for this. Maybe the Dawn Guard, you might have an issue using Ariel's bow because you're a Daedra, and Ariel wasn't. But that's really about it. I'm sure you can rationalize it in some way. This is about making your own story in Skyrim. I imagine a huge portion wanted this video specifically for the Lover's Lab portion of it, the sex, and it's up to them whether or not they take advantage of it because I added the mod in the mod list there. But all of the character build testing was done exclusively without them. But yes, a Daedric Seducer is the closest thing there will ever be to a succubus, at least with the current Elder Scrolls lore. Speaking of the Elder Scrolls lore, keep an eye out for my next lore video coming soon, followed by a character build that is a Redguard pirate. Other goodies such as modding videos will be coming through as usual, and with any luck I can resume my Skyrim Fallout Let's Plays without issue. Like if you liked, dislike if you didn't, subscribe if you want to see more content, and do check me out on the social media links above. There's going to be a vote soon among my Patreon subscribers as to what build I do next. I'll have several options to choose from, so if you're a subscriber, please do leave a comment. And hey, did you know I changed up my channel page? Seriously, check it out. I've got playlists for all the major series, and I've got a dedicated section specifically for past live streams in case you missed something. Either way, y'all have a good one.